shouting or complaining. Every one of them were thanking me as if it was something special. I mean it sincerely.
This is a weird thing for the president to say yesterday. Joe Biden touring some of the areas affected by Hurricane Ida and the residual rainfall all around that whole situation, so that everybody's been thanking him. Everybody's been super excited, which is, again, one, a weird thing to say, and two, just not at all true. We've got some clips to prove the contrary coming up. Also, wanted to talk about Joe Rogan and his whole situation. If you don't know who Joe Rogan is, one of the most successful podcasters on the planet. Signed a $100 million podcasting deal with Spotify recently. He had a really interesting COVID situational story that I want to touch on, among other things, on the Jobob Show today. Thanks for tuning in. It starts right about now.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
Live from a dingy bunker, completely cut off from the outside world, except for you fine folks. My name is Jobob. This is the Jobob Show. Thanks so much for tuning in. Today it is Wednesday, September 8th. September 8th? I'm sure I get that right. September 8th, 2021, the year where everything went back to normal. President Biden made everything normal again. I swear I'm going to stop making that joke one of these days. But I still think it's funny just because of how not normal everything still is. The president went out and did some funny things yesterday, and by that I mean just was out and about doing his normal routine of being somewhat incoherent and completely detached from reality, but such is the new normal. Maybe that's the new normal. Maybe that's what they were talking about. The new normal where the president doesn't entirely know what's going on at any given time. And also Joe Rogan, again, one of the most famous podcasters, super successful stand-up comedian, host, UFC commentator, guy does it all, was talking about his COVID experience on his podcast the other day. And I wanted to bring you a couple clips because there's some really interesting stuff going on in the world of COVID treatments, all of that sort of stuff. Plus a bunch of other random headlines that are happening around the world. Free Britney is back. Talk about that a little bit. Also, Paris, France. I don't know if you remember those terrorist attacks. Geez, 6 years ago almost now. But that's going to trial, again, among some other headlines. But before we get into any of that, I want to tell you about our brand new Jobob Show shop. Jobob Show shop. Funny. If you're on Facebook, if you're watching this on Facebook Live, which where most people, if they do end up watching this, are watching this, I think we're past like 30,000 likes on the Facebook page, so that's super fun. Very cool, guys. Head on over to the Jobob Show shop where you can get the new and improved Biden t-shirts with his famous catchphrase of, "What?" I think these are hilarious. They're obviously a spoof on the Obama-era t-shirts of change and hope. Joe Biden, obviously, again, with his catchphrase of what? If you live in California, this is always fun. Corruptifornia t-shirts are now available at the Jobob Show shop. And also, the King Gavin Newsom recall shirts are available, again, at the Jobob Show shop. And also, these capitalist propaganda stickers where you can get on your gas station. I did it. We did it, Joe. Gas prices higher than Hunter Biden. And the always ever favorite Donald Trump Miss Me Yet sticker, also available at the Jobob Show shop. Just like saying that, it's fast. So if you're on Facebook, the link should be in the show notes. If you're on YouTube, also same place. Just click on that link, Jobob Show shop, facebook.com/the Jobob Show/shop. Also on Instagram, selling a bunch of stuff. It's actually been kind of fun. There's also coffee mugs, a bunch of other stuff that have your favorite gear to tell your friends that the socialist ideas totally suck at the Jobob Show shop. So enough about that. I want to get into President Biden's tour of the hurricane-affected areas. He was in New Jersey yesterday, gave some remarks up around the Northeast. Chuck Schumer was there. We saw that clip at the very beginning. But I want to play this clip from Joe Biden where he's talking to a crowd, where he says some things that are just dumb and wrong. And these are things that, admittedly, type of things that Donald Trump would say. Now, obviously, there's a huge difference. Donald Trump is a showman and has been a showman for his entire career. And so when he would say things like, everybody loved it, it's fantastic, people were aware that not everybody would love everything 100% of the time, because obviously that's impossible. But that's just the type of person he was. Joe Biden, on the other hand, has been a straight shooter politician his entire career and is going to give it to us straight. Of course, that has not been the case in so many instances. Quick reminder before we play the clip, go ahead and leave your comments in the comment section. Like getting to some of these throughout the show. Get a chance to read them. They pop up on the screen here, and maybe we can react to some of them as we go forward. Disagree or not, you could also completely disagree. You could say you're the most wrong person in the world. I don't mind. I don't have a problem with disagreements. But listen to this from the president this weekend.
Are complaining. Every one of them were thanking me as if it was something special. I mean it sincerely, that I was here.
He ain't gonna do shit. Leave them in ruins and leave Americans behind. Leave Americans behind. He will leave you behind. You guys protecting him. He'll leave you guys behind.
That's great.
You murderer! Killing our kids out there, you murderer! Murderer! Killing our kids out there! You worthless piece of trash! Worthless piece of trash!
So that is Joe Biden yesterday going around and looking at things, which, so many presidents do. You're not the only one to go look at disaster situations and show face, essentially. But that's essentially what it is. You saw that first guy yelling, "Is this a photo op? Was this a photo op? Not going to do anything," which is more or less true. FEMA has been slow to react to the folks over in Louisiana, and also all the people that were affected in the Northeast as well, from all the rainfall that hit New York City and all that sort of stuff. But nevertheless, Joe Biden is still doing a great job, according to your lefty media. And according to himself also. Wanted to bring an interesting poll that was out yesterday or the day before that, not quite sure, but I came across it. They do these hypothetical polls for the presidential, the office, the Oval Office. Who would win if the election was held today? Well, first of all, if the election was held today, I think people would be in shock. I don't think they were expecting to vote on September 8th. It was announced the election's held today. Oh, whoa, am I registered? Where do I go? Do I vote somewhere? Do I have to mail in a ballot? It's September 8th. This is weird. But if the election were held today, there's a poll taken that said, they probably think that Donald Trump would win if it were a face-off with Joe Biden. Poll has it at 47 to 46. So it's within the margin of error, but also I understand why that number would be what it is. Joe Biden has had a rocky start, to say the least. And American voters agree. Partially, I think every single Trump voter continues to turn out for Donald Trump. That's just what would happen. And also, I think a lot of Biden voters who voted for Biden the last time around sit this one out. Probably. They look at that situation and go, maybe not. And then they stay home and don't end up voting. 47% went to Donald Trump, 46% went to Joe Biden, and the rest were undecided. Some 6% were looking for another Democratic candidate, but again, that's not how elections work. Also, I think your never Trumpers would look at Biden and realize that he's not governing the way he promised to govern at all. Said, I'm a moderate. We're going to even keels straight down the middle. Maybe a little bit to the left. But of course, that has not been the case whatsoever with the president. Has gone completely off the left edge and has brought forth a ton of economic proposals, immigration proposals, infrastructure proposals that are completely and entirely to the left wing of his party. Also, I think a lot of Democrats would have realized that, he's a semi-senile old man. Which is another massive problem, especially from a national security standpoint. Also in that poll, this was interesting, 4 out of 10 Democrats are ready to bail on Biden in 2024. Now, I would bet an absurd amount of money that Joe Biden is not going to run for president in 2024. But if he did, 4 in 10 Democrats, 40% of his own party said, yeah, we're out. We're not with him this cycle. Let's go find somebody else. And that's not to say they're going to vote for whatever the Republican candidate is or an independent candidate, libertarian candidate. They're just saying, we're done with this guy. And 8 months in to have 40% of your own party not backing you for the next re-election, I don't think that's ever happened in the history. It certainly didn't happen with Obama. It certainly didn't happen with George Bush. Definitely not Donald Trump. Donald Trump had higher approval ratings among the Republican Party versus even Ronald Reagan. But I can't think of a time where that's actually ever happened. 8 months into your presidency and 40% of your own party is ready to jump ship and find some other candidate in the next presidential cycle? That's insane. Absolutely crazy, but it just speaks to the job that he's been doing, especially in the past month, 6 weeks with Afghanistan, FEMA's delayed response to the hurricane victims. Hasn't been a good go of it. On top of that, all of the snafus when it comes to him fighting the teleprompter. Hasn't been good for Joe Biden. Other news from around the world, the terror attack. I don't know if you guys remember the terror attack in Paris that happened in 2015. Most notably that theater shooting that killed 90 people. Also a bunch of explosions. But that trial is now starting and underway in France. If you remember, 9 suicide bombers and the shooters killed 130 people and wounded 400 more. Most notably, the theater killed 90 individuals. And that trial is now starting in Paris. Over a dozen people are going to be tried in connection with it. That's going to be really interesting. We're going to obviously stay tuned to that. ISIS at the time claimed responsibility for that attack. But again, that trial is going to start right now. It's underway as we speak. The Free Britney movement has reached its inevitable end, maybe. Obviously, assuming the judge goes with what her dad now says. Britney Spears' dad tells a judge her conservatorship should end. Matt Gaetz is beaming with excitement. If you remember, this was one of the more unifying things. The people from both sides of the political spectrum got together and joined hands to free Britney. And it looks like all of that hard work, all of those Instagram posts, all of those marching around with signs that say free Britney has paid off. As Jamie Spears has said to the judge, you need to end this conservatorship. Now, one thing to keep in mind, I think this is Jamie Spears, Britney Spears' dad, feeling the heat. Again, never did I think I was going to be commenting on Britney Spears and her dad's relationship on a political show, but it is really, the whole conservatorship thing is fascinating. But keep in mind, Britney Spears' dad, not a good dude, because can never forget that this was the same guy that put his 16-year-old daughter up in front of the entire world to be eye candy. So regardless of what you think of, well, he's just trying to protect his daughter. That wasn't the case for however many decades that she was the tween pop star of the world. But nevertheless, he did say to the judge that the conservatorship needs to end. Triller is a boxing event that's happening this weekend. These are kind of, I don't know what to make of these. On one hand, I think they're super entertaining. This is the same group that had Mike Tyson fighting Roy Jones Jr., I don't know, a year ago. Part of me thinks this is hilarious. The more of this I can get, the better. Another part of me thinks, who wants to see this? Who wants to see 50 to 60-year-old men hitting each other? It's just weird. It's kind of a weird thing. However, there is an interesting factor going into this one that was just announced yesterday that I'm unbelievably excited about. This again, I think it's weird. So there's boxing, like the sport, is a game of age, I've noticed. I play in the men's league, and oh my gosh, I'm 30 years old, and we played a team, a bunch of 20, 22-year-olds last week, and it had nothing to do with skill. They were probably better than us skill-wise, but the ability to continue running up and down the court is the biggest component when it comes to sport. If you're too old, like all of these boxers on this card, the main card is Vitor Belfort, and Evander Holyfield. Vitor Belfort is 44 years old. Evander Holyfield is 58. When is the last time Evander Holyfield boxed competitively? But the interesting thing about this event, and probably the reason that I'm going to buy it this weekend, is that it was announced yesterday the host for the event, who will be providing commentary, will be none other than the 45th president of the United States, Donald Trump. Holy cow, that's going to be hilarious. Now, remember, Donald Trump, through his entire career, has been a showman, has produced and sponsored and put on boxing events. Him commenting on an event isn't entirely out of the ordinary. The thing that's out of the ordinary is he is a former president. But also, you can't tell me that's not going to be awesome to watch. So I will definitely be tuning in. Triller, you got some free advertising there, because that is a hilarious situation. And I'm actually very excited to see what the Donald does on hosting a old man fight contest. A buddy of mine, Tito Ortiz, is also fighting Anderson Silva, so that'll be cool. Good luck, Tito. Which brings us to another interesting component. The stands are going to be filled for this event. It's in Florida. The whole COVID thing is gone in Florida. And I don't want to say cases in hospitals. I'm talking about the regulations. They're free over in Florida, unlike a lot of the rest of us. But speaking of the whole COVID situation, I wanted to bring on this clip from Joe Rogan. If you don't know who Joe Rogan is, one of the biggest podcasters on the planet. $100 million deal with Spotify, I think about a year ago, that he signed. Massively popular, massively influential. And also, Joe Rogan's interesting because his podcast or his politics aren't entirely clear. And I think that resembles the majority of people. You think this on one thing, you think this on another thing. He liked some things from Tulsi Gabbard or Bernie Sanders, and then liked things that Trump was doing also, which I think is how the majority of America is. Not every Democrat idea is stupid, and clearly not every Republican idea is stupid. Getting at it is, I think Joe Rogan is a pretty good center figure of being representative of how Americans actually think. But anyways, I want to get to this clip of talking about him and his experience with COVID this past week. Now, well, let me play this clip first and then set up what they're talking about.
Well, if it isn't old horseworm Rogan. I'm glad you're well, man.
Bro, do I have to sue CNN?
I don't know, do you?
They're making shit up. They keep saying I'm taking horse dewormer. I literally got it from a doctor. It's an American company. Mm-hmm. They won the Nobel Prize in 2015 for use in human beings.
Yeah.
And CNN is saying I'm taking horse dewormer.
Yeah, what? So
they must know that that's a lie.
Well, there's a lot of people saying it.
Right, but a lot of people can say it.
Okay.
Like the internet says it, who cares?
Sure.
But CNN is saying it. Like Jim Acosta.
I meant like USA Today, a few other
yeah.
places,
and they're talking about ivermectin, right?
Yeah.
So what, because I don't know, I just saw so much news about you. I mean, I would talk to you and check on you and see if you're all right. And you're like, you threw the kitchen sink at it, you said, which was stuff that, you took IV drips and what was it?
Monoclonal antibodies.
And what is monoclonal antibodies?
They gave Trump.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is Joe Rogan, again, on his podcast talking about his bout with COVID. If you haven't been watching the news, which good for you, a lot of your cable news shows, MSNBC, CNN, all of these cable news shows were talking about Joe Rogan's situation because he posted a video after he tested positive and said exactly what his guest was saying, that he threw the kitchen sink at it, took this drug called Ivermectin, is the main one that people are up in arms about. Now, I have a clip here, I have a screen grab here from CNN. This is a actual Facebook post from CNN. Make it bigger for you. Joe Rogan announced he's tested positive for COVID-19 and he took numerous medications to combat the virus, including a livestock drug, Ivermectin. And they had doctors on there talking about it, and they took it very seriously, as if Joe Rogan, the podcast host, came down with COVID and took a livestock medication. CNN, MSNBC, all of your alphabet networks continually talked about, well, he's taking a horse dewormer. You shouldn't be taking a horse dewormer. That's what all these people were saying. Here's the thing. I don't want to get down the road of the whole ivermectin efficacy thing, because that's not, this is not a medical show. I'm not a doctor. But I want to talk about how crazily misreported this thing is. Again, whether or not you think it works, I happen to think there's some pretty compelling evidence out there and some pretty compelling reasoning as to why it's not being pushed. We'll get into that in a second. But what's absolutely not true is when CNN, of all places, says including the livestock drug, as if it is solely and only a livestock drug.
To sue CNN.
I don't know. Do you?
They're making shit up. They keep saying I'm taking horse dewormer. I literally got it from a doctor.
So here's what Joe Rogan's talking about. CNN is putting all of this news out there saying he's taking a livestock dewormer. That's what ivermectin is. Couple facts about ivermectin. Ivermectin is an FDA-approved drug for humans. I can't believe I have to say that, but CNN and MSNBC have put me in that situation. Can't believe you got to say that. It's a drug for humans, FDA-approved. Also, one of the most distributed drugs on the planet for humans. Was invented in the 70s, is used as an antiviral or an antibacterial. I don't know what it's used for specifically. Again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not trying to make any medical declarations here. But read an article that said 7 billion doses have been given since its invention in the 70s to humans. But again, CNN, MSNBC only call it a livestock medication. You stupid mouth-breathing Trump voters only take this. You shouldn't take this livestock. It's for horses, you nuts. Same thing with the whole hydroxychloroquine thing. Again, not making any medical stances here, but this is also a viable FDA-approved drug that also happens to be, again, I don't know about the FDA approval. Let me just clarify that real quick. Just a viable drug that actual doctors are taking seriously that also happens to be in fishbowl cleaner. And they went with the fishbowl cleaner stance. Same thing is going on here. They're going entirely, this is an animal medicine. This is not for humans, you stupid, stupid people. But ivermectin is FDA approved. It's also one of the most distributed drugs on the planet. In 2015, the group that invented it in Japan won a Nobel Prize for ivermectin's use in humans. Again, this is all on the back of your mainstream media calling this a livestock medication, and dumb humans are just too stupid taking this thing. Joe Rogan has said, well, not Joe Rogan, but also there's been numerous doctors around the world who have sworn by this, given it to their patients. Again, I'm just telling you things that are happening. I'm not saying that I'm all on board or telling you to do anything. I'm just saying that this is what's happening. Doctors around the world are swearing by it. Mexico had really interesting trials. India had really interesting trials. Japan, where the ivermectin drug was invented, their Fauci, the Fauci of Japan, came out the other day and said, yeah, we should start using this to fight COVID. So the reality of the situation is CNN and big media is just lying, which, again, no surprise. But a lot of the times, the lies come with opinion, right? Well, this is going to kill this many people. No, that's just a thought. It can be argued. Anybody can argue about this. This is just blatantly lying and misleading people. The whole horse dewormer situation out of CNN is not a difference of opinion lie that the media so often gets blamed for. This is just a blatant lie. That'd be like me typing in on this computer and CNN saying, man types into metal box thinking something will happen. Like, no, I use a computer. Everybody uses a computer. It works. I can type into it. But yet CNN is going with metal box, stupid man type metal box. Stupid man touch metal box, thinks it'll work. That's how ridiculous this is. Here's the grand conspiracy over ivermectin. Again, I'm just reporting the way things are. I'm not saying this is true. I'm just telling you what components are surrounding this drug. If you're not hip to it, the conspiracy idea, and again, this is more plausible to me than a lot of the other wild things thrown out there. The idea is that it hinges on the Emergency Youth Authorization Act, the EUA. All of your vaccines, your Pfizer, your Moderna, your Johnson & Johnson, all of the other vaccines were issued approval on what's called the Emergency Youth Authorization Act. I don't know about the act part. I think I just threw that in there on accident. That might be editorializing. They were given emergency youth authorizations and cleared to give to people. Now, the difference between emergency youth authorizations, EUAs, and full FDA approval is that emergency youth authorizations are only issued, obviously, in an emergency. What constitutes an emergency? An emergency is constituted when there's no other viable treatment for the disease. Therefore, your Pfizer's, your Moderna, your Johnson & Johnson all got the EUA approval. Now, that emergency youth authorization approval goes away the second there's a viable treatment to the disease. You staying with me? So, is there an incentive for pharma companies who generally fund these mass trials for treatments? Is there a financial incentive? Again, ivermectin is a public domain drug. It's generic. It's super easy to produce. There's no money in it, is what I'm saying. Is it out of the question to think that there's a possibility that your big pharma companies that invested billions of dollars into developing these vaccines would not want that quote unquote miracle drug to see the light? I would say probably. If you run a business like the big pharmas are businesses, and all of a sudden your approval gets yanked because there's this new drug on the market, would there be any incentive for you to prove the efficacy of that treatment? Probably not. And by probably not, I mean absolutely not. It's all about money. That's what Joe Rogan is talking about. There's this big, great conspiracy that ivermectin is the treatment that could get rid of COVID immediately. And there's a lot of doctors out there and a lot of research out there that would agree with that statement. But there's no financial incentive for the big pharma companies, especially after they invested billions of dollars on R&D, only to get their vaccines revoked because there's an effective treatment. Even in a prophylaxis stage. So people are taking ivermectin after they get it, but also before they get it to help prevent them getting COVID. That type of thing would scare the living crap out of the drug manufacturing companies. Speaking of COVID, I wanted to kind of wrap it up on this fun note. And by fun, I actually do mean fun. How awful would it have been? How awful of a weekend did your lockdown COVID fear-mongering people have watching college football? Oh my gosh. For me, watching college football this weekend and seeing the stands absolutely packed with nobody wearing any sort of masks, people doing whatever they wanted, was awesome. And I want to play you a clip from Virginia Tech, their traditional Enter Sandman stadium entry. Watch this. How awful would that have made you feel if you were one of these lockdown, COVID is the worst thing that will kill you to keep you safe? If you were one of those people, your Dr. Fauci's who's hyper cautious about everything, seeing that would have just been awesome. Sorry, it was awesome. It was awesome to watch college football knowing that your lockdown extremists, your Gavin Newsoms, your MSNBC talk show hosts, your Dr. Fauci's, were watching that weekend going, oh my gosh, we lost. So much fun. On top of that, other interesting stories that were coming out. You can go find the videos. We're not going to play the videos of that here because part of me thinks it's funny, but also part of me thinks it's disrespectful in a lot of different ways. But these entire stands were filled with people chanting, F Joe Biden. I kid you not, those were actual chants ringing throughout stadiums across the country. In meme time, we've got a funny meme that'll kind of show that. But anyways, just wanted to get that on there because there are people out there still advocating, well, we need to shut down cities because COVID is so bad. The Delta variant is so bad. And it might be. I'm not a COVID denier. It could be bad. However, you can't continue to lock people in their houses. And this weekend, watching college football, we tried to get this on yesterday, but didn't have time. But this weekend, watching college football was an awesome screw you to your lockdown extremists. Wrap the show up here, obviously, with meme time. Meme time is one of my favorite things. We got two good ones for you today that I think are funny. This one is... we'll make this a little bit bigger. Facebook must be censoring liberals now. Haven't seen any posts about how great of a job Joe Biden is doing, which is hilarious, I think. You don't hear any high praise of Joe Biden coming out of your keyboard warriors nowadays, which I think is funny. I'm going to share this next one with you, which somewhat has something to do with that last meme. But the liberal conspiracy is afoot. This is a meme. If you're not familiar with the picture below, it's the conspiracy theorist meme. And I think, there is a conspiracy theory afoot within your liberal media and your liberal circles. Liberals explaining how Biden got 81 million votes when he can barely get 50 people to attend his events, has entire football stadiums chanting their hatred for him, and when they themselves made up settling for Biden t-shirts leading up to the election. Seems like a liberal conspiracy to me. But nevertheless, we're just having fun here. Those are your memes for the day. That's going to do it for us today. Tomorrow, we've got some stories that we couldn't fit within today's scope that I think are really interesting. Kind of want to talk some 9/11 anniversary stuff. New information that I found that I didn't know, which was, I thought I had heard everything. I thought I read everything. But a story around the building codes and how they were changed and how that affected the World Trade Center attacks, 9/11, obviously the anniversary coming up on Saturday, plus a couple of other things. Probably on Friday, we'll play the big, long George Bush throwing out the first pitch mini documentary thing, which is so awesome. But more of that stuff coming tomorrow and Friday. So stick with us then. If you're a Daily Caller Patriot, I'm hosting the, what's it called? The Patriot Dispatch today. Right after this, we're shooting with one of our reporters. That'll be up over at the Daily Caller website. If you're a Daily Caller Patriot, you can see it. If you're not, you should be a Daily Caller Patriot so you can see it because they're awesome and they're fun to do, and I like them, and yeah, it's a great time. Also, this week we have a brand new episode over on Daily Caller, my show Quality Control over there, talking about semiconductors and the inevitable war with China, which nobody likes to talk about, but it's a huge problem that we're going to have to deal with eventually. And semiconductors, the computer chips that run every device that you use, from your coffee maker to C-16 airplanes, are at the center of the growing Cold War relationship we have with China. So check out all of that stuff over on Daily Caller. Also, if you haven't gotten a chance, go check out the Jobob Show shop. Let me share my favorite t-shirt again. This is my favorite t-shirt from the Jobob Show shop. The link is in the bio. It is the Joe Biden t-shirt with his favorite catchphrase. What? Also, again, if you're in California, if you're in other states, we'll get to your states eventually. But Corruptifornia t-shirts out now, and also the Recall Gavin Newsom t-shirt, all at the Jobob Show shop. We'll be back here tomorrow, same time, same place, with all of the fun news of the day, as well as some 9/11 stuff that we'll be seeing for the next couple days, as the 20th anniversary is on Saturday. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you back here tomorrow. God bless America.